welcome to another episode of Wedflics. I'm your host, Julia Braime. I'm the founder and editor of Brides Up North, the top UK wedding blog for northern couples, and the editor of Unveiled magazine, your go-to bridal glossy. Today on the show, we're talking about one of my favourite subjects, cake, and very gorgeous, pretty elegant cakes at that. I'm welcoming Nicola of Boutique Bakery. She's based in Chester, and my goodness, does she create the most amazing confections. Let's talk all things sugar with the lady herself. Okay, so hi Nicola, and welcome to the show today. How are you doing?
Really well, thanks. Lovely to see you. Thank you.
Oh, great. Well, listen, for anyone who is not listening on audio, who is watching along with us on our YouTube channel, you'll immediately have a sense of what Nicola does in her business because of that amazing display behind her. Oh my goodness, I could just stare at it for days. But Nicola runs Boutique Bakery. She's one of our Unveiled Network members, and she is incredibly talented at what she does. She is a wedding cake maker, and I know she does a couple of celebration cakes too, but we're not talking about that, right?
No, absolutely not. Only when I don't have weddings.
Right, loud and clear. So Nicola, do you want to tell us a little bit about your business and how it all began?
Yeah, so I set up Boutique Bakery in 2018. I previously worked down in London and commuted from Chester, where I live, on a weekly basis. So I put a stop to that and decided to do what I loved instead. And so Boutique Bakery started. It's got started. It was basically a start because I was commuting to London. I basically started from a standing start. So I kind of spent the first year and a half or so really building up the business. And 2020 was going to be amazing, but unfortunately that didn't quite happen.
Yeah.
So very, very much looking forward to 2021 kicking off with some weddings.
Well, yeah. It surprises me. I thought you'd been around a lot longer than that, you know.
Oh, there you go. That's
good.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, yeah, you definitely got started really well, if you know what I mean. Like your branding was there. Your cakes were impeccable, and straight away in that case, you haven't kind of learned on the job. You kind of already knew how to do it and went boof.
I have certainly learned on the job, definitely. But yeah, I did a lot. I've always baked for years and years and years. And then when I got married in 2014, I spent ages looking at cakes, as you do if you like something. I got loads and loads of ideas, and I went out to people and I got some quotes, and I thought, you know what, I could save that money, buy myself a fabulous pair of shoes and do it myself. So I got my Rupert Sanderson heels.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. I was thinking, what were the shoes? The shoes?
You're amazing. I've still got them. And I basically set about teaching myself all techniques that I'd need. So I did our wedding cake, which is great, and I look back at it now, and it's got little curved edges and short tiers and little stamped out flowers and stuff on it, but it was a start. And then kind of in between then and actually starting up Boutique Bakery, I did loads of courses. I trained with some fantastic cake makers in this country, and also I actually went over to Washington and did some training over there with Maggie Austin, which was just incredible.
Wow.
So yeah, I did. I think I before I kind of left my job to go and start something from scratch, I had to be comfortable that I could do it, and so I did that kind of in my own time. And then it was kind of a big bang. Let's go.
So what was your previous job, Nicola?
God. So I was a bid director for a big outsourcing transformation company. So I worked in a kind of big ticket sales team. I'd probably not call it big ticket anymore, but it was. And basically organised when we would bid for work, I'd work into the public sector, and you kind of bid for opportunities, and I'd organise the quality submission of the bid. So be responsible for scoring points.
So interesting then that your own business was so kind of like launched in, like, I think quite a corporate way. Like you saw the opportunity, you did the training, you got everything together, and then you launched properly. I think your background really shows in the way you launched and the success that you've had. I used to be a lawyer before I did wedding media, and it's the same for me. Like, you're used to a certain way of doing things and standards, and you're risk averse, and you want to, like, you know, you take a risk, but you take a measured risk. And yeah, I can see the similarities that kind of, you just kind of exploded on the scene with this fully formed brand, really, because I definitely came across you in like 2018, I reckon.
Yeah, well, I did the so because I didn't have a clientele in Chester where I lived, because I basically wasn't here for most of the week, I was like, right, well, I've got to go and find myself some clients. So the first, once I'd done the brand, made a load of display cakes, I did the National Wedding Show, and that was my first big event to go and find some clients, basically, which is where you saw me.
I did. So I've told this story before on a different live or someone else, but I'll tell it again. So I was the official blogger for the National Wedding Show in Manchester, and I was kind of walking around trying to choose best in show, essentially. And Nicola's stand for Boutique Bakery she had like a beautiful kind of white backdrop and shelving, and quite a thin stand, I think it was at the time, that one, or definitely developed into that if it wasn't on the first one. And she had, you know, all her cakes, almost like what you see behind, like the kind of cakes displayed but spaced a bit more along this beautiful white shelving with her logo and everything on it. And I was like, right, I'm picking best in show. That is clearly potentially the best in show. It's a really good stand. I really need to like get to that stand and talk to Nicola and find out about this company. But because you presented it so beautifully, and literally it was like a flash mob at all times around your stand, and I've said to Nicola since, you must have thought that wedding show was like the busiest wedding show ever, and she's like, yeah, and it wasn't. It was just round your stand at all times, this kind of mob around you. And I can't remember whether I presented you best in show or not. I think you did get an award. I
didn't get anything.
No, right. Well, it was
anything.
Literally, they were like, "You've got to make a decision," and I was like, "Well, I haven't been able to talk to that stand holder." So yeah, you've missed out. You missed out.
Too many people. It was, yeah. I mean, it was the most incredible fair, because it was so busy. We literally, the doors opened at 10, 10:05, first people on the stand, and it was me and my husband there. And we didn't stop. I think the doors closed at 4, at which point we went and got a sandwich and had some lunch. And it was just incessant all the way through, which was amazing.
I think it's testament to you that, honestly, I mean, it was a good show, but the whole show wasn't like that. That wasn't the case on every other stand.
I didn't get to see anything else.
No, and so your cakes like went down an absolute storm. And that's a very commercial market. So that it kind of shows that you've got sort of something for everybody. I was going to ask though about your signature style. So what would you say is your signature style of cake?
So I think I'm just kind of looking behind me. I don't know if you can see this one here, the one with black and white ribbon at the top where the back's just missing. It's a new design I've done and I absolutely adore it. So it's nice, clean, elegant lines. There's not too much faff and fuss on the actual tiers. But you've got a load of sugar flowers on there. It's loose and flowing. It's not too kind of stylized or clumped together or anything like that. It's got a fabulous kind of a striking ribbon on there. It's just, there's simplicity with then just like standout moments to make you look at it and go, oh yeah, that looks good. That's elegant simplicity. Go for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love those pops of boldness though, like whether it's like, you know, an anemone center or the ribbon. The ribbon is great. That black and white God's grain is just like, yes.
Which is lucky because I had to buy 50 meters of it. So basically most of my house has now got black and white ribbon around it.
It is so nice though, but that was always going to go down a treat because it's like that Joe Maloney type feel, isn't it? It's like, it is. You know, it speaks to you of kind of like nice days out or straw boaters or, you know, polo or whatever. That's what that ribbon talks to me about.
Yeah, but it's just kind of simple and elegant again, which is it's not too fussy, but it makes a statement without being overly frivolous.
Yeah,
There you go.
definitely. And I love the cake next to it as well, with the kind of muted pinks as well and reds. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's kind of a more autumnal tones, which I absolutely, I love the flowers on that one. I unfortunately I did some lettering on it, which I don't like at all. So I need to redo it.
Well,
but,
from
you
here
know,
we can't see the
practice.
letters. We can
Can't see
only
it,
see
it's
those.
fine.
Yeah, we can only see those kind of beautiful sugar floral.
And then
This beautiful sugar
this
floral.
little black one, which I quite like, which is so it's all offset. So there's a bit of interest from the tiers being offset. It's something a bit different. And then you've just got the really simple orchids going down it.
Yeah, and that bit of gold as well, that pop of gold.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen that cake in some of your imagery. I've definitely blogged about that one for sure.
Yeah.
So taste and flavour then obviously are very important to you too.
They are.
So is that more important or as important? Where do you kind of sit on how things balance out?
It's as important. So you need to walk in to the venue and whatever, go, wow, that's a cake, number one. And then you need to be sitting there looking forward to your slice of cake. You get your slice of cake and you go, wow, that tastes as good as it looks. That I've been to so many weddings, I'm sure I've said this to you before, and I'd sit and look at this cake because I was, slightly obsessed with the cake. And I'd be going, can't wait, gonna have some cake, this is gonna be great. Because I'm not a big cake eater, so I'm like, yeah, this is a treat, this is brilliant. And then you get this slice of cake and it's like dry and flavourless and it's heartbreaking. I'm like, I'll go and dance then.
Yeah. I'll have some more wine then.
Yeah,
one of those.
So they've got to taste good. So when I was developing my menu, and that was great because I was actually doing when I was still at my old job. So kind of I'd go down on the train on a Monday morning with a massive cake tin, make myself the most popular person in the office and be like, what do you think? What do you really think of it? Is it good enough? And so they all got to do the menu development with me, which was quite nice.
Wow, I wish I'd been in your office. We had a vending machine, not like a kind of artisan cake delivery every Monday. So how many flavours then do you have on your menu?
I think I've got about 15 at the moment. I was playing around with some new ones early this year, which I haven't played around with them enough yet. So I got a bag of, have you heard of ruby chocolate?
No.
I think they do kind of it's launched, it's meant to be like the 4th chocolate flavour, and it's pink chocolate. And it's not with colouring or anything, it's kind of from the cocoa bean and things, and it's how it comes out like that. And it's got a really fruity flavour to it.
Oh wow, okay.
So I was trying to do something with that, maybe with some basil and strawberries and things in it. So that was quite an interesting one, but that needs more work. And then I was playing around with some pistachio flavours as well. So there's always kind of something in my head, but it's actually developing it to a point where I go, yeah, okay, that can make the menu.
Yeah, pistachio I can imagine would be a popular one, definitely. And do you get that kind of greenness in the bake? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so you get so I use pistachio paste, and depending on which one you buy, some of them are really, really, really green. So yeah, but I need to work on those and hopefully progress them a bit later on this year.
Yeah, pistachio is a funny one. The reason I'm sort of focused on the pistachio is because a friend had got a pistachio cake and I thought, don't really like the sound of that, and then it came and I tried it. I was like, oh, actually, this is really lovely.
So there used to be a restaurant in Chester. It was Michael Caines. It was in a hotel in Chester, and he did a pistachio souffle. Oh my god, we'd go like pay for the whole dinner just so we could get to pudding, because it was the most delicious. I'm not a big desserty puddingy person, but it was just absolutely divine. But so yeah, it would be nice to do something. Actually, when I do pistachio macarons, they're always really popular.
Yeah, I think that's in my mind. I think from sort of shoots and things like that, where I see this sort of pale green macarons. Yeah. You're right. So what are your most popular flavours then? Which ones go down well time and time again?
So lemon drizzle is by miles and away the crowd pleaser. So you know, it's you know, what's Granny going to like? She'll love a slice of lemon drizzle. So that's always really popular. I do a raspberry bakewell.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Actually, I won a prize. Yes. So that's a nice one. It's got some I make like an almond brittle in it, which actually goes in the cake, so it's got a crunch to it as well, which is quite nice. Yeah. And then what else? I do a bit different. I do a cardamom and pink grapefruit.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, nice.
Which is a really nice summery flavour, maybe as an alternative to the lemon drizzle. The chocolate flavours, obviously, they're always popular. I do a sticky toffee, which has got kind of a sticky toffee sauce in it, and you can have extra jugs of sticky toffee sauce if you want them. So there are a few, but I think those are the ones that kind of raise eyebrows and go, oh, I'll try that.
So when you sent me, so Nicola sent me a sample box of cakes.
Yes.
And when you sent that through, I think it had a sticky toffee in it. And I think it had the raspberry bakewell actually as well. But my husband was like literally hovering the whole time. Fuck off my sample box. This is important work that I must do. But I think he loves the sticky toffee, so I think I let him have the sticky toffee. But yeah, that was a lovely treat actually. That's one of our most watched reels actually on our Instagram, the opening of your box of
Is
samples.
It really? Oh,
yeah, so
so
people
cool.
must be feeling as excited about cake as I was at that particular moment, which is great. It's literally just me going, oh, it's an unboxing of this cake. Yeah, so that was really nice. Where do you stand on like traditional fruit cake?
So I offer it. I do. I don't like it myself. I hate dried fruits, so I never eat it. But no, I offer it. It's a really boozy fruit cake, loads of rum in it. I maybe do 5 orders or so a year with a fruitcake in, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's just
because I know a lot of cake makers don't offer it now. And I know that like sometimes when you're trying to please other family members, like for my dad, that would be an absolute deal breaker. Like he would want a boozy, like we had a traditional wedding cake. It was beautiful. Yeah. Actually the company who made it isn't going anymore, but that was a traditional fruitcake because my dad was just so like determined that we must have this fruitcake. And I think, you know, this is 10 years ago. And now we probably would have put in a few different layers with a few different flavours. Yeah. Yeah, he would be very happy with that, Nicola.
Yeah, no, I think for me, you've got to offer it because there are people who love it. And, you know, quite often people will have a cheese cake or something like that, a cheese display, and it's really nice actually to have alongside a slice of cheese or something like that. Quite often I do them as like separate cutting cakes for people so that they can kind of serve it separately to the main cake, and then they'll have like an all sponge main cake, and then Granny or whatever will have her 6-inch little fruit cake so she can sit there and scoff it.
Yeah. So tell us about the cutting cake option and why that can work. Kind of some people will be looking at the cakes behind you and thinking, oh, but you know, I'm worried that cake wouldn't feed all my guests.
Yeah.
In comes the cutting cake.
Cutting cakes, absolutely. So you can have something like if you had that little black cake with the orchids on, something that size would serve 70 portions. And if you like that and you like the dimensions of it, but you're like, well, I've got 100 or 120 people, then I can also do cutting cakes. They are made exactly the same as the cakes would be in the main cake. They're iced and everything. I just deliver them to the kitchen on the morning of the wedding, and they just cut them up and serve them at the same time as the main cake. So
I think that's a really nice way to do it. I think that's a really nice way to do it.
And then the other way, which is on the opposite side, which is really important at the moment, is dummy cakes. So all of these are obviously on dummies. I'm not sitting here with a load of vanilla sponges stacked up behind me.
Do you know what? It's interesting because I know that because obviously I do a lot of wedding shows, but I didn't know that before wedding shows. Like I would have thought they were real cakes for sure.
Yeah, they weigh a ton. So actually, when you're doing a wedding show and you're kind of passing in and out 12 or so cakes, I mean, imagine carrying them as proper cakes. It'd be like total body workout.
Yeah, whereas these ones are just like, They're kind of pretty. You pick them up, like I've picked them up on a shoot before and be like, oh, I just threw the cake in the air.
Don't drop the cake.
Never dropped a cake yet on a shoot, actually. That's always a massive concern of mine. And sometimes I've picked one up for one and I've been like really pedantic about it on my front seat. And
no, which is nice that you've kind of got that much respect for them. People always, whenever I do shoots, no one will go near the cake that are always absolutely terrified of it. Yeah. It's fine, don't worry.
But they're just such works of art, though. They're just such works of art.
Thank you. I mean, and they can be fragile. You know, the flowers, occasionally go near them and you just look at them and they explode for no apparent reason. Hopefully that hasn't happened recently, which is quite nice.
How do you then, so with the sugarcraft, how do you sort of stay on top of that skill? Do you practice, or do you develop new flowers a lot? How do you do it?
So I mean, in terms of practice, obviously, actually the past year has been a bit difficult because I have been doing celebration cakes and things, but you know, people don't necessarily want to pay the price of a load of sugar flowers on a 24th birthday cake or something. So I have been like doing some new display cakes and things just to kind of keep my hand in. But yeah, it is practice, and I'm always tweaking them and improving the way I do things. So things just like the classic rose, you know, like your classic red rose, it's one of the hardest things to do, and just kind of get the structure but the kind of the natural look to it as well. So that's one which I'm always fiddling around with and trying to improve how I make it. And yeah, new flowers, quite often people will say, oh, you know, this is my favorite flower, we're going to have this, the florist is sourcing it, can you make it? It's like, yeah, absolutely, give it a go. Google it. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite flower to make out of sugar?
Actually, I'll tell you what I love doing, which was so on the white and black one, it's got an anemone on it, and it's also got bougainvillea on it, that was really lovely. So I think mainly because it takes you back to holidays and things like that, doesn't it? But things like peonies, I love doing peonies. They're great fun, and I generally like doing the flowers that I like in my garden and to have in the house and things.
It's interesting you say about the bougainvillea, because me and my little girls had a conversation about this the other day, because I asked them what their favourite flower was, and my 4-year-old said blossom, cherry blossom, and my 8-year-old said that's not a proper flower, you can't have that. Yes, and she was just, you know, she was just being like that. It was a car journey. It was a car journey. And I said, well, I think mine is bougainvillea. Like, I think that's my favourite flower because it reminds me of holidays, and it's interesting that it's on the cake. I would love that. Yeah, so what's the hardest flower to make then? Is it the rose, like you mentioned?
Yeah, so the classic rose, just to find a way that works for you to make that, because everyone makes it in a slightly different way, and I really struggled with kind of looking at how other people did it and kind of going, oh no, that doesn't work for me, and my hands don't work like that. But yeah, some of the other roses, like say the David Austin style ones, which kind of have the really kind of frilly fluffy centers and things like that, they can just be really fiddly, and just to kind of get that natural shape to them can be tricky.
But I mean, you're clearly a perfectionist though, right?
Yeah, I try to be. I spend a lot of time going, not happy with that, redo it, you know, and start again. But there's always the balance of kind of perfection versus time available.
Yeah. So how long does a cake, like say your black and white one that we've focused on a little bit up there, take to make? How many hours would that take you?
So I mean, time wise, the flowers would probably be a couple of days work, full kind of 8-hour days. The actual baking the cakes, 3 tiers, that's, you know, it's another lump of a day, and then you've got to fill them, cover them in ganache and cover them. So it's hour wise, I don't know, it's probably around, I don't know, 50 hours work or something like that.
Yeah, so when
you're all in.
Yeah, well, that is a piece of art. It is right to describe them as art then, because I think, you know, if it's edible, sometimes it kind of gets a bit lost, but it is a real like a sculpture, really, isn't it? It's harder actually than a sculpture because you're judged on the taste as well as on the look. So it's
and it's multimedia as well, isn't it?
It's more difficult. It's very interesting. Very interesting. I think that, you know, because I run two sorts of things. I have a blog and I have a magazine. And the magazine's a lot harder because you can't just change it, you know, at any point. And it's a similar kind of thing that both people wonder why the magazine's more expensive to be a part of. But it's the same sort of thing. It's because it's just so intense and such perfectionism. It's very interesting. Yeah. You get a lot out. Well, I get a lot out of that finished product. I imagine it's the same for you.
Yeah, it is so I invariably kind of working with couples to design their cake and things. There are always ones that I look forward to making slightly more because I'm like, this design is really me, and it's just, or it's stretching me in some way, or it's something a bit different. And those are the ones that I do really look forward to. And when it's kind of come out as you wanted it to, and you stand back and go, yeah, I did that. Or when you see it actually set up at the venue, that's nice. Just fab. You know, some of the venues, so things like, you know, taking a lovely just before lockdown, actually, I did a lovely 4-tier cake, and it was all coloured in pale grey sugar paste, and it just had some very simple white roses on it, and it was set up in Thornton Manor, and so it's there in this lovely central table in front of the fire, and you just kind of stand back and go,
yeah, and then collapse into a tired heap on the floor.
Well, yeah, and then all hell broke loose with the world, didn't it? So it was like, I'm not going to be back here for a while.
Thornton Manor is a gorgeous venue. What sort of trends do you find that your couples follow trends? Do you see trends emerging? What can you predict coming forward?
I don't actually. I've only really had kind of one or two couples, I think, who've been very kind of design led. So things when, you know, all the dried blooms and things were coming in, then I had a couple of requesting those on the cake alongside some sugar flowers, which always looks really nice. But I think because couples kind of plan their weddings generally so far in advance, what might be a new trend in, I don't know, January 2019 when they're planning it, and actually then their wedding comes round 18 months later and everything's moved on. Yeah,
particularly now, I think, as well, now that we've had this kind of sitting duck time, it's be interesting, because I would say your cakes are on trend, in like, not in a like overtly trendy way, but they're definitely not on trend, if you see what I mean. They're just
quite modern,
nicely on trend.
Yeah, they're hopefully, I wouldn't say they're cutting edge. You know, I see what some people do, and I think, oh, you know, that's fantastic. And there's lots of textures and things involved, which has been a real trend. And you know, I've had a go at it. I don't like how I do it so much. So I think, yes, you can absolutely kind of nod to trends, but ultimately I've got my own style.
I think that's what a wedding's all about. I think that's what styling a wedding or styling a, you know, bridal shoot that I do is about. It's about nodding to trends rather than kind of plunging headfirst into them, because I mean, anyone can be free to have whatever wedding they choose, which is the current debate at the moment, obviously, with everything going on. But I would just kind of err on the cautious side with that. Just kind of take elements and make and pepper them throughout the day, because it just all then flows a lot more nicely. It's not about kind of a style statement your wedding day, it's about your wedding,
ultimately about you as a couple. So if you are a very trendy couple and, you know, very, very trend conscious and things, then you will want elements including your cake that reflect that. But if you want something that maybe reflects your love of travel or certain colours or something that means something to you, then I think that's important to reflect as you as a couple.
Exactly. I think what we're trying to say is you don't go trendy for the sake of it.
No,
you know,
exactly.
It's kind of, but I would say that your cakes are fresh, if you know what I mean. They're not, you know what I mean, you're kind of just there with it.
That's good. It's hopefully modern and current.
That's what I think they are.
There's not lots of kind of heavy pipe work or lace details, things like that. It, again, I think the kind of the clean lines and the kind of simplicity do just make them look more up to date, really.
Tell you what I think you'll get more of, because I think there's a trend coming through for sort of more natural elements, so like mosses and twigs and undoneness, and sort of almost like a woodland, not woodland, almost like a kind of hedgerow sort of setting. I think you'll get some of that coming through from your couples, more kind of earthy colours and that sort of thing. But I think that would work well with your style already.
And that would be lovely. I've actually got one, a wedding, which is at Chester Zoo, which is so exciting. I can't wait to go and set up cake there. But they're having a kind of a very like woodland themed cake, and like little kind of smaller flowers and things like that. And that's a really nice thing, and moss and stuff like that, and some twigs. And that's a really nice thing. Again, it's something different for me to do, and I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
So just to finish, what is the process with your couple? So when they kind of love your stuff and they get in touch with you, where does it go from there? Like, how do they?
So basically I work from home. I've actually got a little studio where I do everything. And so you come to my home, we sit and we eat lots of cake. They can try 5 different flavours of cake that they get to choose. So it's not like a set menu. It's like, right, what do you want? And then we talk about their day as a whole, really, so I can really get a feel for them as a couple, and feel for how they want their day to be. Talk about any other design elements, so things like florals or colours. Bridesmaids' dresses is always one that seems to come in, and then kind of get an idea of how we can feed all that into the design for their cake. So I'll sit and do a really quick and rubbish sketch while I talk to them, which is always the way I have to explain it, as they're like looking horrified at this sketch. And then they bottle off, and then I send them a big kind of consultation sheet with all the details that we've just talked through, details of the flavours they liked, and then kind of a proper sketch, which still isn't work, it's a step on, of the cake we designed together, and that'll be fully costed, and so that's then works as a really good starting point for their cake.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I wish that I was getting married. All these chats that I've been having with our amazing network suppliers have made me think, if only, I just love to be
just go
my cake on the boutiques. It's just such a special time. So wedding couples, you've had it a little bit rough, but now it's time to really, really enjoy it. So really lean into this moment and enjoy the planning. The planning is as good as the day itself. That's the secret that no one tells you.
No, I mean, that was a massive learning for me when we were planning our wedding. Is I loved it, and that was a massive part of what made me do what I'm doing now. Was I just wanted to be part of this wedding industry, because it was just so much fun. I was like,
we've never left. Oh my goodness! I kind of talk back to my wedding planning experience 10 years ago, and I'm like, and then I just never stopped because weddings are just so much fun. I love going to a wedding. Please, everybody, invite me to your weddings. I will happily attend and drink all your wine and eat your cake.
If you need any plus ones for anyone, I'll be there. I'm there.
If you need to fill on these seats, we're here. Okay, so Nicola, what's been your proudest moment so far in your journey?
Probably just before Christmas. So I entered the TWIA, the Wedding Industry Awards, and I won the Northwest Regional Final just before Christmas, which was ace, because I know a lot of the cake makers who I was competing against, and they are great and they are really talented, and I really admire their work, and so that was I was blown away to win that.
No, and it's a good award to win that one. It's a properly judged. I used to judge in that awards for many, many years, but once I started the network, I stepped back because I would have been biased. So I thought, I can't keep doing this. But it's a rigorous judging process, really rigorous, and awful. Like, as a judge, it's an awful judging process. You've got so much to do and go through. And the cake bit, do you have to send samples? And
so this year we didn't. So normally they're a part of it, and I think you actually then all the regional winners then design a display cake, which is then judged. But again, that didn't happen because it was judged on. So they go to you get feedback from your couples. So that was probably the proudest bit, was actually when I got to read what my couples had said about me, and it was just, I was blown away. It was just so supportive, and it was constructive in places, and it was just great to read that actually my little cake business had a bit of an impact on their big day, and that was lovely.
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course it has. And I think you're absolutely kind of trailblazing with your cake business, I have to say. Like, it really stands out as a really great operation. It really does, truly, to me. I'm not surprised you won the award, to be quite honest. I think you deserve it. So
didn't win the national, came second, but you know.
who came first in that one?
A company called Cocoa and Kobe and Cocoa, who I think is down in Kent, possibly. Beautiful cakes, and I obviously got in touch to say congratulations to a very lovely lady. I can't remember her name, but I mean, very well deserved. They're stunning.
Oh, well, there's always next year.
Absolutely.
So Nicola, how can couples contact you? What's your web address? And I'll drop it on the screen.
So boutiquebakery.co.uk. Instagram as well is always good, which is boutiquebakery_Chester. Perfect,
because that's where you're based.
But exactly.
Do you cover sort of that area, or do you go further afield? What do you find that you normally?
I'll go further afield if needed. So I'll go. I've got weddings in Anglesey, so all the way northwest. I've done a cake. I've done a few couple of cakes in southeast, so London and Surrey. I'll go up to Clitheroe, the Lakes. As long as I can do it delivery wise, and then no problem at all. There's obviously a delivery charge, but if you're happy with that, then that's fine.
But I mean, if you're a fan of the taste and the style, then thank you very much for being my guest today.
Thank you. It's been lovely to chat to you. Be nice to break up a day of baking as well. So,
absolutely. Julia. Well, I kind of wish I was there actually, but
there are loads of offcuts today. It would have been a great day.
Send more sample boxes.